Hello everybody. We're back at the 2017 National Amateur Championship in Mondovi, Wisconsin. And we're in the 5th series. They've got a big triple with some water on the left bird. I want to talk to my friend Paul Sletten and Dave. Dave, you guys aren't quite as tall as I remember, but
you're gaining on us.
I'm finally hit a growth spurt.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, we've got the test here. And Paul, tell me a little bit about the test and what's going on out there.
Well, the first thing I noticed this morning, everybody was real worried about the long gun for a good reason. And I don't think many people were talking about how hard the left-hand bird might be. And it appears to me from the line, it kind of looks like maybe your dog has to be disciplined and go down and get in the water. But I don't know how much they're recognizing that pond. In this left-hand bird, the terrain really falls down to the right. And I think a lot of dogs are falling off and they're just getting a head start. And they're kind of ending up there by default, and it's causing some trouble on that left-hand bird. And I think that's happened pretty frequently. And then you're already kind of off to a bad start if you end up getting a hunt up here, and you still got a big bird left to do. It's presented some challenges.
What you don't see here, that there's a couple prominent hay bales right up on.
They like to check them out,
and it does seem to draw the dogs up the hill. And if they have an excuse not to be in or around that water.
Yep.
Tell me about the middle bird. Dave, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think the middle bird, I think the handlers can get that actually easier than they can get this bird. I think you can get a decent start if you don't have a super long flyer and don't have the feathers drift dictate breakdown. I think they can get a good start on that bird and get up the hill. And I agree with Paul. My concern is this bird more than the big bird.
Have there been any dogs have trouble gotten too far left on this bird?
I think one dog swam to the end of the pond, but got some wind off it and came back pretty quickly. So I think the answer is no, not really.
So, how strongly would you influence left? I mean, if you were running this, Dave.
I think I would influence enough to keep them out of this area here.
Okay.
If I got this bird second, I think I'd get enough push to keep out of that Death Valley. If I had to get it third for some reason, then I'd be real careful, because I think if you over influence trying to get left after you've gotten this bird, then I think you're out here.
Would there be any doubt in your mind in order that you would get these birds?
No. Well, on a test this wide open, if a dog came back in and said they wanted that, based on head swinging, you set up on this bird first, and if they didn't see this because of this,
right,
it may force your hand to go get it. But to me, on this test, it wouldn't matter to me if a dog came in and said, I want that great big one. Go get it. It wouldn't.
I mean, and again, I've heard some people saying, is there any reason you wouldn't get the middle bird second? Paul, any thoughts on that?
I don't have any good reason to. In my mind, I think the dogs, when they're a little fatigued and are huffing, and you're taking a little extra time and bearing down, I think the way I train anyway, they tend to kind of have their mind out, all right, it's time to do the long gun. And I feel like even if they're a little hazy, I can punch them to the end of the field. And I'm not really looking for a punch to the end of the field here, but here I feel like I got some room up the middle. It's going to be easiest for me, even if a dog had no memory and didn't see it. That's my best chance to bear down and say, we are going long. So I would probably try pretty hard to get the left hand.
There's been a few stretches where you've had a few good jobs, and then there was a stretch where a bunch of bad work. Do you think we're dealing with drag back or different wind conditions, or do you think it's...
The wind's cropped up pretty hard right to left.
Yeah, I think...
It was 5 earlier, but now it's...
Yeah, but now when we lost the last few dogs we watched, they had to be down to the right and deep of it to wind it. I think that's a big effect there. The flyer drift is getting all the way over to the line, and you're seeing dogs as they go by, give a head look.
Well, tell you what, they've got 66 dogs in here. They're certainly gonna lose a fair amount, it looks like.
I think it's a much better test when they cleaned that middle bird.
They had another flyer here.
Yeah.
And who knows what would happen. Well, guys, thank you very much. Paul, get one more thought?
Well, I was just going to say,
nice to see you
get
taller.
A lot of the dogs are starting to blow to the left as they're crossing, and then some dogs are getting on the left side of the hill up here. I have a feeling if that other bird wasn't in there, all things being equal, it gives you a little goalpost maybe, and maybe this bird's tougher without that other bird in there. I'm not saying the test
No.
is easier or harder, but
I wondered that myself, because I
is more
watched the
difficult.
first test dog that's on the drone video that's getting uploaded right now. He had big hunts and was really gassed, but he got up there pretty easy, and he I thought that influence of that flare gun helped him get up there easier. I agree with you. Well, guys, thank you very much, and thank you guys at home, and there'll be more to come shortly.